Little motherfucker gonna try to rob me. Well, I'm gonna show you how we do it up here in Pinky. Look, I want
Think of the passion, God love everlasting. Keep the law of the land and book in case you're asking. Moving forward to the learning and it's free. Cause I know that God know the combo go with Sister E.
What's up, good people? What's up? What's up? I know I'm out late. But I gotta get out of here. I'm trying to get back into the swing of doing lives because I know I've been totally out of the loop. So I get on this TikTok, and this young man has a live talking about why aren't you Christian? And can y'all hear me fine? I'm back. Madison was calling me. But I went on this young man's live and I share with you for a second. So I've heard of him before. Some people have mentioned him before. So in his live, he asked the question of I went to his TikTok and I went to his TikTok and I was talking about how being Christian does not equate to being a believer to me. You can be, and I don't knock people that are Christians. I really don't. I don't. And I don't knock people that are in the faith. And I should have clarified that. But calling yourself that title, that's not what Christ called us to do. He never called us to call ourselves Christian. Christianity wasn't even something that they were practicing then. They were practicing the Hebraic faith. So when the Gentiles came in, they came in following the God of Israel. They wasn't following the God of the Gentiles. So, and I'm just using that just to be just saying it, but they were following the customs and the ways of the Hebraic people. And I was trying to build the picture. Y'all know me. I'm trying to build this big elaborate picture. And I actually misspoke on one thing because I said that the Edict of Milan did away with the Sabbath. And I really meant that the Edict of Milan was the beginning of where you introduced Christianity and legalized it. And then as you go through the timeline, you start seeing them taking certain aspects of the Hebraic customs out of the faith throughout the councils. And I said, when you go, and when I got on the YouTube, I said, crap, I misspoke. I spoke too quick. I said, but when you go into the Council of Laodicea, so after I did all that on his TikTok, I went to his YouTube because I said, I need to show some information. So, one, he kept insulting my intelligence, y'all, to the point that my child had to get in the conversation because she said they're being extremely disrespectful. But with that being said, I was just using Sabbath as an example that Sabbath was eventually done away with. And I didn't even really use Constantine. Constantine made Sunday worship a day of civil rest. They call it the veneral of the sun, but they made Sunday civil rest. That's where they rested. And they kept Sabbath going because from a social and economic standpoint, they wanted to still maintain Saturday because Saturday is when they made their money. So ultimately, Sunday, they start introducing more people start, practicing Sunday worship. I don't knock what people do, but we got to be honest. So when you go look at the Council of Laodicea 364 is when you see that council put a stamp to say, bam, you are considered to be a Judaizer. And Sabbath actually became illegal based on the Council of Laodicea. And then we talked about the letter of Magnesium. And y'all know I'm country. And I said it wrong. So what he ultimately did was, you didn't say it wrong. You just didn't know how to pronounce it. And I'm sitting there like, dude, you ain't got to insult my intelligence. But what you're going to do is let me get my point across. So if y'all go look at that video, he would not let me get a word in edgewise. And I was just explaining. I was trying to explain how things transitioned over to more of a Gentile-driven faith and less of the Hebraic faith. And then I was going to go chime in and start talking about how the apostles wasn't Christians. The disciples wasn't Christians. You can't call them that. Christ didn't even, it's centered around Christ. But ultimately, none of them call themselves Christians. And even when I would rather be a Christian, because I know Paul said that it wasn't like he was saying, okay, we got a brand new faith called Christianity. No, he was just making a statement ultimately. But they still followed the Hebraic ways. I said they didn't step away from the Hebraic customs at all. And he would not let me get to that point. Madison, am I wrong or right?
You're right.
He was very what?
Condescending,
disrespectful, wouldn't let me get my word in edgewise. And I'm sitting here trying. By this time, I'm like, let me get my words in, let me explain. And I did talk over him because he would not allow me to fully get my thought out. So I asked him a simple question. I said, did the apostles and the disciples follow the same thing that the church fathers follow? Did they follow the exact same thing? And I asked that question for a reason, because I'm trying to get you to see that what the church fathers did later, because the church fathers condemned things. That's where they got the concept of Judaizer. I think Ignatius called them Judaizers. So they were trying to make a distinction between the Jews and the Gentile Christians at that time. So what I was trying to show him was throughout time, you start seeing less of the Hebraic customs and more of the Gentile type customs brought into the faith. And then you ultimately begin to see the Gentile faith. You didn't see the Hebraic side of it. So they would not allow me to get a word in edgewise. So I wanted to really have a good dialogue with this person, because if anybody knows, I like having a conversation. I really want to see what he was thinking, because I said, being a Christian is not what Christ was teaching. Christ was teaching kingdom principles, following the kingdom. And he was like, well, he was trying to explain like Christ was trying to do away with the law. That's not what that says, sir. But even when you look at the concept of Christ, Christ was chastising the Pharisees for bringing in the custom of the elders, taking away from the actual custom where they made every aspect of the law a burden. The law itself was not a burden. It was what the Pharisees did that made it a burden. Now, people will not agree with me, and which is fine, but we're dealing in a time and an age where it's ultimately we're dealing in the age of the Gentiles. So in a lot of cases, we're going to be practicing, and a lot of people are going to be practicing. It was horrible, y'all. I was sitting there and I was like, oh my goodness. I'm gonna try to go. Let me see if I can find the point I was at.
A breath of fresh air to see.
There's no word. There's no Sabbath in here.
So this is where I corrected myself, because I remember I said the Edict of Milan doesn't say Sabbath.
Give me 1 second.
That's what I said. Give me 1 second. Let me go get my document. Now, one thing I will do, family, I would never allow my arrogance to get the best of me, where I won't say, oops, I said something wrong. And I even got up there and I said, yep, I misspoke. I said the Edict of Milan did not necessarily have anything to do with the Sabbath, but it did go into the legalization of Christianity. They made it a Roman faith. They made it legal. So when they made it legal, that was the beginning of it. But as time progressed, you start seeing less of the Hebraic customs and start seeing more of the Gentile customs. I said what I really should have been speaking on is the Council of Laodicea. He didn't want to touch on the Council of Laodicea. Because if you look at the Council of Laodicea, you see right there that decree ultimately put the stamp to say no more Sabbath, ultimately. And I am paraphrasing. I said, oh my gosh. And the thing is, I see a lot of these Christians and I see a lot of these apologists, they praise the church fathers, but I rarely hear them really talk about the essence of the apostles and the disciples and what they did. I hear a lot of church fathers, Ignatius. I hear a lot of that. And I'm like, what happened to Peter? What happened to Paul? What happened to all the church fathers? What happened to all the apostles? They never stopped practicing the customs. And then he said the Lord's Day. Oh, I got one even better. I said, did Christ do away with the Sabbath? He went straight to the Lord over the Sabbath. I said, Christ decreed that he was the authority over the Sabbath. He did not do away with the Sabbath. He says, I am the Lord over the Sabbath. I said, he did not say nothing about no more Sabbath. He says, I am the Lord over the Sabbath. So when you're saying he's the Lord over the Sabbath, he's letting them know that I am the one that makes the decision on what transpires with the Sabbath. He says, so you're going into his rest. Define what that means. I really want to sit down with an apologist that has a genuine understanding and really want to have the dialogue to really explain. Tell me what you think when it comes to Hebraic faith and how in the Bible the Hebraic faith was totally done away with. And we have this brand new shiny faith. Because the things that we practice now looks nothing. And this is where you have to be honest. The things we practice now don't look anything like what they practiced during the Bible. None of the things that they did during the Bible, during the New Testament. I don't see none of the things. Even when you get into Paul was preaching to the Gentiles on the Sabbath. He was talking to the Gentiles on the Sabbath. When Paul was actually doing what he did, what they call the Lord's Day, he was actually breaking bread after he got done preaching on the Sabbath. See, they don't want to talk about that. Paul was preaching on the Sabbath and they broke bread. You break bread. What? So what you're saying is because they broke bread, Sabbath done away with, and we're going to do the Lord's Day. So I'm sitting here like, you can't sit here. And the thing is, I'm not upset. He said, you're getting angry. No, I'm getting frustrated because you keep muting me. And I'm really trying to get back into the swing of things because I've been out of commission for a while. But the crazy thing is we get these people that are apologists and theologians, and they don't want to be honest that what we see now in the faith, the followers of the way, because the early century Christians were called followers of the way. The thing is, if I don't call myself a Christian, but I follow Christ, or am I in the same lock and step with someone who calls himself a Christian? Am I at the same level as you? Can I make it into the kingdom if I say I don't want to call myself, I'm not calling myself a Christian. I'm calling myself a follower of the way. Or I'm a follower of Christ. Some of these people really think that if you don't call yourself Christian, you are not going to make it into the kingdom. And that's the sad part of the situation. And I asked him to come on my channel. I did. I said, let's do this. Because he kept muting me. And his friend made an insult to me because I said, when Christ came, Christ was checking the Pharisees. He wasn't checking the people. He was trying to teach the people correctly, but he was checking the Pharisees. I said, he called them vipers. And I said, who was Christ calling vipers? One of the guys said, you. I said, excuse me? Excuse me. I had to catch myself. But I'm like this. I don't knock, like I said, I don't knock people that go to church. I don't knock people that call themselves Christians. I don't knock any of that. But let's be honest. If somebody says I'm not a Christian, but I follow Christ, would that lead to me having less access to the kingdom or getting into the kingdom? Christ says, let me show you what Christ says. Let me take this young man off. I'm not going to sell him because I refuse. That's not how I do things. Let's look at this. So this is what Christ, when you look at Matthew 16, 24, 26, then Jesus told the disciple, if anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whosoever would save his life will lose his life, but whosoever lose his life shall for the sake will find it. For what will it profit a man to gain the whole world and forfeit his soul? Or what shall a man give in return for his soul? So when I start looking at this scripture, Christ is ultimately saying, let's go back to this. Christ is saying, take up his cross and follow me. Take up the cross and follow me. Christ is saying, follow me. Follow me. And at that time, you had a lot of, and when I was reading through a couple of documents, I said, in a lot of cases, I see where the Pharisees had introduced certain things that Christ had to correct them on. They wasn't the washing of the hands and different aspects of the law of the elders. They were practicing where he says, this is not what we would, and I'm just paraphrasing, this is not what they were doing at the very beginning. That was the burden. I was even looking at, it was the laws of, I got to go back and read this stuff because y'all, I've been out of sync for the past couple of months, but there were things dealing with the elders that they was following that had nothing to do with the original concept of the law. And I'm just sitting here and I'm just shocked that people have the audacity to say, why not be a Christian? Well, why not follow the Hebraic faith? Why not follow the faith of Peter? Why not follow the faith of Paul? Why not follow the faith of all the apostles and the disciples of the Bible? I said, if the disciples were here right now and they saw what Christianity was doing now and they showed them the church fathers, do you think the disciples and apostles would be pleased? No, it wouldn't. What we practice now, or what people practice now, does not look the same as it did during the time of the disciples and the apostles during Acts. That didn't look the same. It didn't. So I'm like, Christianity is a hell of a drug, and that's how I believe it. It's a hell of a drug that we've become so wrapped up in that title that we don't see what Christ was saying. They don't. And a lot of these people are so into, oh, let's go to this book. Let's go to this chapter. Let's go this. Do you know anything about church fathers? Hell, I don't give a damn about these church fathers, being honest. What I do care about is Christ. What I do care about is the actual apostles and the disciples. But what the church fathers did, that does not, the faith was established during that time with them. That's the faith during the time of the apostles and the disciples. That's what I consider to be something that I need to look at far as a believer. Because I asked him, I said, did the apostles and the disciples follow the exact same way of this, the faith, the way the church fathers followed it? If people say yes, they are lying. And people are so wrapped up into, I know all the church fathers. I don't care to, church fathers ain't gonna save me. Church fathers not gonna save me. Can I be honest? Church fathers is not gonna save me. The teachings of the church fathers is one commentary, and in some aspects of the commentary, they took their pagan customs, because a lot of those church fathers were pagans prior to coming into the faith. They took a lot of their practices and brought it in. This is why you have the situation where Ignatius is telling them, follow the Lord's Day. The Lord's Day is on Sunday. That's not what the apostles and that's not what the disciples was following. The disciples did not go to Sunday worship. The disciples practiced the Sabbath. The apostles followed the Sabbath. And they always run to Paul and say, well, Paul preached on the Lord's Day. Paul broke bread on the Lord's Day. Let me look something up. Let me find that scripture. Hold on, y'all. Let me find it. Hold on, let me put this up here. Hold on, y'all. My computer's moving extra slow. I shouldn't have got this one. I should have got the other computer. Let's look at this. Here we go. And the crazy thing is, they don't even call it the Lord's Day. Paul don't call it the Lord's Day. This is what they're speaking of. Upon the first day of the week, when the disciples came together to break bread, Paul preached unto them, ready to depart on the morrow, and continued his speech until midnight. So you're taking a particular time when Paul was speaking on the first day and ultimately said, this is the Lord's Day. Paul really preached on the Sabbath. Every single time the Gentiles came to see Paul speak or see Jesus speak, what day? Well, it was more so Paul. What day did they go see them speak? It was the Sabbath. But they take that as Paul saying the Lord's Day or the first day. That's why when he said it, I was like, wait a minute, hold on. What you getting ready to take me to with the Lord's Day? You're getting ready to take me to the time when Paul was preaching and they broke bread. Okay, what does that mean? Show me where the apostles was practicing any form of worship or made the Lord's Day the first day and a new day of worship. So really, I was only talking about the Sabbath to show there were certain aspects of the Hebraic faith that they snatched out. And what we see now in Christianity is not what they practiced during the time of Christ, during the time of Paul. When they came into the faith, they wasn't practicing any of that. They weren't practicing. They were practicing the feast days, because you got to think about it. Gentiles were coming into a faith they had no idea about. They just wanted to follow the God of Paul, the God of Peter, the God of Thomas. They wanted to follow that God. That's who they wanted to follow. So if I want to follow that God, am I going to go say, well, I'm going to practice Sunday worship, or am I going to follow your customs? Because you already have customs established. You already have a practice established. You already have your God established, which made the Sabbath holy since the beginning of time. But yet and still, you got these individuals. So I'm gonna be honest, y'all. I invited him on my channel. I said, come on my channel Sunday. You're more than welcome to come on my channel. More than welcome to come on my channel. I'm not gonna mute you. I'm not gonna be disrespectful to you. He kept muting me. Master, how bad was it when he was muting me?
He did. He kept muting everything that you said.
So,
He kept muting everything that every time you would speak.
the charger. Did we leave? Hold on a second, y'all. Yeah, I'm sorry. My daughter was looking for the charger. But Master, how bad was it?
Yeah,
He kept muting me. I'm at the point. You gonna get the key and go down and get it?
No, I'll wait on you.
But again, I was like, look, dude, I ain't been in these type of conversations in a long time. I'm trying to have a good conversation with you. And even when I made the misstep and said the edict of Milan, and I said, oh shh, I said it wasn't an edict. It was and I said it's a council Laodicea. So I got my words crossed up because I was talking too fast, trying to get things in too quick, and said the wrong thing. And he caught me. And I said, oh shit, that wasn't the edict of Milan. It was the council of Laodicea. But when I took him to the council of Laodicea, I said, let's go read that council of Laodicea. Council of Laodicea in 364 totally did away with the Sabbath. Yeah, I'm just and the thing is, what happens is they build these echo chambers. I do have respect for individuals who don't, and they'll go into those spaces and have those type of conversations. But you cannot say, let me see, I gotta find the actual document itself. Let me see. Let me see. So the Council of Laodicea was a, let me find the actual document. I got to go find the document itself. PDF, here we go. It's a long one too. This dude that made me lose my voice. Let me see. How y'all doing? I've been gone for a while. I do want him to come on. And I invited him on. I can't see. Ugh. Is this the right? Hold on, y'all. I gotta go find a document. Let me get my documents. Yeah, I have not been on this computer for a minute because I've been working. So I gotta find all my documents that I have. Let me see, because I had stuff prepared for a debate and I cannot find it. Here we go. I think this is it. PDF. I need the PDF. Let me share. It's time for me to get back. Start back doing stuff. Hold on. Control find. Let me see. So it just goes right here. Let me see. Where's the section? I think I passed it because I'm frustrated right now. Where's the document? And this ain't even a document I had at first. I gotta go find the document. But with that being said, now bring it and I'll let y'all see it. And I might be passing it because I'm rushing through it. But yet and still, even if I don't have the actual document itself, they did ultimately call the Sabbath to be done, that they shouldn't do it anymore, ultimately in the Council of Laodicea. And if you did it, you were considered to be a Judaizer. And that's when you really start getting the label of Judaizer. And it really made it illegal. And I asked him, I said, didn't the Council of Laodicea do that? Y'all, when I tell y'all, oh, Jesus, I promise you, some people, I mean, there are certain aspects of the law that I feel like the Hebrews misinterpret and they kind of screw up, and some things we're not supposed to really be doing. There are some Hebrews out here that actually still sacrificing animals. And I'm like, hold on. Christ is our ultimate sacrifice. We don't have to do the things of we don't have to do the sacrificial aspect of it anymore. I don't agree with that. But just like some of us stand 10 toes down to say some aspects of it we don't agree with, Christians refuse to admit that there are some things or things that they practice that has nothing to do with the original faith. If you try to make a Christian admit that the Sabbath was something that was not ordained and created by God, I mean, not the Sunday worship was not ordained and created by God, and man really put that in place, they're going to argue you down and they're going to call it the Lord's Day. Lord's Day is not that, the way that they put it. Paul preached and they broke bread that day. That was it. Acts 20, I think it's Acts 20:7. That was it. The first day of the week. And they don't even call it the Lord's Day. They said upon the first day of the week. And this is the King James Version. When the disciples came together to break bread. Keyword. I'm going to go back to it. Let's go back to it again. Yeah, I'm a little sleepy too as well. I've been driving all day. Upon the first, this is the Lord's Day that they talking about right here. Upon the first day of the week, when the disciples came together to break bread. They weren't practicing the Sabbath. They were coming just to eat a meal. That didn't say, now they're going to do this. No. Paul preached unto them. Now, going back to them saying the Lord's Day. The Lord's Day. Think about it. Nowhere, you didn't see Lord's Day nowhere in there. It's just Paul met with the disciples. They broke bread. They had a meal. That was it. End of discussion. That was all that they did in Acts 20:7. They broke bread the first day of the week, does that say that that's the Lord's day and the Sabbath is no more? Then they try to say, well, Christ said he was the Lord over the Sabbath. Yes, he is. He is the Lord over the Sabbath. But in that, does it say that the Sabbath no more? No, he's the Lord over the Sabbath, meaning he rules over the Sabbath. That's it. You can rest in me. Nowhere did Christ says do the Sabbath no more. I want a Christian to come on here and tell me, did Christ say don't do the Sabbath no more? The Sabbath is done away. Don't do it. You're not supposed to do the Sabbath anymore. I really want folks to show me this. Because I believe Christ was very intentional in his words, the things he said. Now, if you're out here, Elijah, because I know you're live over, if you are out here, he might not, because he's a little puffed up that he the new apologist on the street. And then those bigger apologists, I've heard of them, and they say that Elijah can, kill the game. Okay, that's fine. Use my phone. Hold on 1 second. I might have to take a minute because I need to go to the car and get my charger out. Let me see. I'm sorry, y'all. I gotta go get my charger. I'm gonna be 5 more minutes, but I did drop it because I do want to have a civil conversation with any apologists that might be watching and just have questions. I'm not trying to argue. Take it like this. If you want to show us where we're in error, where we're not following the faith of Peter and Paul and the original disciples and the original apostles, show it to me. I don't have a problem with that. Correction doesn't bother me. But what bothers me is when people are being arrogant and they don't want to fully hear your point, and they try to make it seem as if you're, let me see. Oh my goodness, hold on. He proceeded to start talking about some Muslim woman and her husband beating her. Hold on.
We were brought up in the ancient order of things have come to the. I'm assuming. Are you talking about chapter 9?
Yep, chapter 9. Can you read that for me?
Yes. If therefore those who were brought up in the ancient order of things, I'll zoom in. If therefore those who were brought up in the ancient order of things have come to the possession of a new hope, no longer observing the Sabbath, but living in observance of the Lord's day.
No, he makes a distinction. You read this, and right here, what he's reading is the letter of Magnesian. I'm saying it wrong, which is fine. And it was a letter written by, I think, Ignatius, and it's, I think that's what that is. And it let us live with Christ, and it's chapter 9 of that. Was that what that was? Yes. And in that particular chapter, which is chapter 9, he speaks of the Sabbath, making a distinction between the Sabbath and the Lord's day. That's what I was trying to say. There is no distinction. The Lord's day is the Sabbath. But he's making a distinction, and he says, for therefore, those who are brought up in the ancient order of things have come to the possession of a new hope. Meaning, he's saying that even though and I asked him, I said, what are the ancient order of things? He said, the old covenant. And then I was going to say, but he made a clause there saying, and come into the possession of the new hope, no longer observing the Sabbath. So what you're saying is those who follow the New Hope are no longer following the Sabbath, but living in observance to the Lord's day. So that puts it as if those who are actually following the New Hope, which is considered, I guess, under the New Covenant, you're following the Lord's Day. And when you read that sentence, it brings you a negative connotation to those who follow the Sabbath and gives you a positive viewpoint of those who follow the actual Lord's Day and make a distinction between the two when there was no distinction between the two. There was no thing in the Bible called the Lord's Day. It was the Sabbath, period. There was no Sunday worship. The saints weren't going up to the temple on a Sunday. They wasn't doing. The Sunday was never established as a day of a new Lord's Day. That's not even in the Bible. So when you make that distinction, he says, and reread this right here. It says, for those who are brought up in the ancient order of things, which is the New Covenant, and have come to the possession of a new hope. So there's a new hope. What about those who follow the Sabbath? Are they under the new hope? I was so frustrated I didn't get to ask that question. But live. When you say but and are two different things. So it says no longer, it's not saying no longer observing the Sabbath, or well, I ain't gonna say but no longer following the Sabbath, but living in observance of the Lord's Day. So what about the ones who follow the Sabbath? So the Sabbath is not the Lord's Day anymore? That's what you're saying? Is that what you're saying? And I kept saying, wait, hold on. Right there, he's telling, and I kept telling him, I said, those type of letters coming from the church fathers ultimately led to the point that the Sabbath became illegal. I said, look at the timeline of events. You had the church fathers who started attacking them and calling people Judaizers. Let's call that out. Then you had then you start going into the Council of Nicaea, when you start seeing that the civil day of rest for Christians was Sunday. So right there, you begin to see aspects of it to say, all right, let me redirect Christians to where they're following this day and not following that day. Because when you look at that sentence and how that sentence is worded, it's not saying anything about the ones that are under the ancient, that are under the New Hope, that follow the Sabbath and follow the Lord's Day, or follow the Lord's Day, but not follow the Sabbath, but follow. So you're making a sentence seem as if those who are under the New Hope, they're not following the Sabbath, they following the Lord's Day, when there's no distinction to that. And I kept saying, you're making and I wanted to say, you're making a distinction when there's no distinction to be made in that. The Lord's Day and the Sabbath, they were the same. You only time again when you see in the Bible where the disciples did something on a Sunday, that's when you saw Paul, when he broke bread. The disciples went up and broke bread with Paul. That was it. The first day of the week. And I don't knock people following Sunday worship, and let me clarify that. But I really want a Christian to break down to me in the Bible, not using the church fathers, where the day of the Lord's Day is Sunday and not Saturday. Show me. I ain't got no problem about being corrected. Don't. And again, let me clarify. I grew up in Sunday worship. I don't knock Sunday worship. But what I will say is that the Ten Commandments said, observe the day of Sabbath and make it holy. It says, make the day holy. So what day are we making holy? Remember the Sabbath and make it holy. What day is that? And the thing is, there's not one single Christian that can break that down for me. But here we go. I was so pissed off
Day,
this time.
on which also our lives have sprung up again in him, and by his death, whom some deny, by which mystery we have obtained faith, and therefore endure, that we may be found the disciples of Jesus Christ, our only master. How shall we be able to live apart from him, whose disciples, the prophets themselves in the Spirit, did wait for them as his teacher?
The prophets practiced the Sabbath. The teachers of the biblical time practiced the Sabbath. I'm gonna play a little music. I gotta run downstairs and go get my charger, and then I'm coming right back. I'm finna play a little music. Okay, I'm gonna go downstairs.
I'm good with you.
All right, I'm back, y'all. All right. So, where y'all at? I'm back. So, with that being said, when you look at, hold on one second. You can use in a debate. Okay, hold on. So, when you're dealing with, hold on, the concept of the Sabbath itself, and when you're dealing with those different edicts and you're dealing with those different decrees, ultimately, when you look at the Council of Laodicea, the Council of Laodicea ultimately put a stamp of approval and made Sabbath worship illegal, ultimately. And people were required, they worked on the Sabbath and made Sunday worship the actual legalized day as a Christian to follow. You can't deny that. And that's evidence, and that's true. So that's why I was trying to get him to see ultimately, y'all, the big picture of how the Edict of Milan legalized Christianity. The Council of Nicaea, the day of civil rest was on considered to be Sunday. That's when he decreed that, along with other aspects of that decree. Then you go in, and and at that time, when Constantine was there in the Council of Laodicea, people cannot deny that was a part of the Council of Laodicea, the Council of Nicaea, that he made the day of civil rest on Sunday. Ask that question. I want somebody to answer that question. If somebody watching this, because I know they're gonna go do some stuff on this, which I'm fine about. I'm gonna ask this question. We're talking about Sabbath. Was there a section within the Council of Nicaea where it called out civil rest as being on Sunday? And it said, civil rest, you can rest on Sunday. Then another part of it was when you go into, like I said, the Council of Laodicea, where you see that's when you see the actual council where they put the seal and say, bam, the day of worship, or what we consider to be the Lord's Day or the Sabbath, is considered to be Sunday. They didn't call it Sabbath, but they considered it to be Sunday. And anybody practicing Sabbath, they were considered to be Judaizers. And that's when you really see the term of Judaizer when you go into the Council of Laodicea. So right there, that's why I was trying to build that timeline for him to let him see that. But I couldn't get my words out. Like I said, I was just talking too fast and I was saying wrong stuff, and I got to get back into pacing myself. But that timeline or sequence of events ended with the final nail in the coffin with the Council of Laodicea. You cannot deny that going from the Edict of Milan, the Council of Nicaea, and then the Council of Laodicea, the end result was at the end of the Sabbath worship. Tell me if I'm wrong. But these are the same individuals that established Christianity. And when you see a lot of these conversations had, and then they all start going into the weird thing of the Trinity doctrine. When they start going into the Trinity and they make the Trinity seem as if it is a salvific thing, and that's when it gets weird and it gets creepy. Because then they make it seem like if you don't believe in the Trinity, you're going to hell. I don't agree with that. I see aspects of in oneness where it makes sense, because when they see, and that's a whole nother conversation within itself. We'll talk about that at another time. But one thing you're going to see that's going to trend amongst a lot of the apologists is the church fathers, the Trinity, and they're going to make it seem like it's salvific. There is no more law at all. We live by grace. Well, what about the 10 Commandments? I've even heard some of them say, oh, we follow the 9 instead of the 10. Where is that in the Bible? But it's that one right there, that Sabbath. They said they need to pull it out. So guess what? We follow the 9. We don't have to follow the 10. Show me the Bible where it says we're supposed to follow 9, saints. Show me where we're supposed to follow 9. What's going on, Dwayne?
What's up, Sister E?
What's going on?
How you doing?
I'm good. Let me get my little napkin because my screen is a little buggy.
Yeah, I'm over here listening to you on my way to the job.
But with that being said, I met this guy named Elijah Johnson, and you might agree with him, Dwayne, because you know you special. You know you special.
Well, I am a Christian.
But the thing is, I think, and this is really the main reason why I got up there, because people put so much heavy weight of being a Christian is the only way to the kingdom. That's not what the Bible says. Following Christ.
What do you when you say that? What do you mean by that?
Meaning, when I say them, it means, and when you say what do I mean, you mean what I'm saying when he said what he said.
Like when they say that, because I don't understand that. Like being a Christian is the only way to what? Like it's just salvation.
In most cases, it gets weird when you have these conversations with people that the Christian, it connects you to Christ, and that's what I got from these guys. And
so, what is a Christian? What is a Christian?
Well, when you look at the essence of Christian, they're a follower of Christ. It's a group of individuals that follow Christ. I never said being a Christian, you're not following Christ. Okay. Let me make that note. I never said that.
Okay.
When you look at the essence of someone who's a Christian, they said they're following Christ. But what if, and I'm asking you this question, what if I say, I don't call myself a Christian, I'm not Christian, but I am a follower of Christ? What came first, the follower of Christ or the title Christian?
Well, the follower of Christ, of course, came first. Okay. But a Christian is a follower of Christ. I don't see the problem.
But if you're not calling yourself a Christian, but you call yourself a follower of Christ, is that the same?
I mean, it's not going to get you in trouble because God is not petty. These people who think that preach and teach that God is petty for some reason, I clearly don't understand scriptures.
Because when he talks to you at the end of the day, when he says, you know, you've been what's the scripture we use, and I can't think about because it's so late. When he says, get away from me, you have been faithful in that. What is it? Hold on. Depart from me.
Yeah.
Depart from me. You never knew me. You never knew me. That's Matthew.
I know what you're saying.
Is he gonna say depart from me because you never knew me because you call yourself a Christian, or depart from me because you didn't follow me?
Honestly, that's not under that. What is it under is the being ashamed of him amongst men.
What?
That's what I was trying to put in the text. I mean, in your chat. If you're ashamed of him,
correct,
amongst men, he gonna be ashamed of you in front of his father. Right.
And that's key right there. But the thing
that's
is,
what that's
even
under.
when you say you're ashamed, that means I'm following him. If I'm a follower, if I'm denying him, I'm not following him. So if I'm ashamed of him, that means I'm denying that I'm a follower of Christ.
Facts.
So being a follower of Christ is not a title in the sense of the word Christian. Follower of Christ.
But hold on. So what I'm saying is, see, that's what that's under. Okay. What's are you ashamed of being labeled a follower of Christ? Because a Christian is a follower of Christ. Now, a person may be like, well, you know, because I know they use they was the first time they was called Christian, it was used like in a I can't even pronounce the word. Derogatory, I can't even pronounce the word. It was like being called a name, a bad name, right? So, and a lot of people don't want to be called Christians because of that, okay? Which I understand, okay? But a Christian is a follower of Christ. That is the definition. Like if somebody was to ask, okay, what does a Christian mean? You have to say follower of Christ.
But yet it's still, even when the concept of let's not look at the concept of, I guess one of the when Christian came up, somebody utilized that as just a title. So you're a Christian. And Paul talked about, yes, he didn't have a problem with that term far as Christian itself, but prior to, let's talk about Christ. The follower of Christ is what's most important, because when you look at the message of somebody saying that they're a Christian, Christian means nothing. If you're not truly a follower, that's just a title. I can say that it's going to be people that make it into the kingdom, and you're going to look up and they never call themselves Christians.
Let's say it like this. Let's say it like this. Let's do a little thought experiment. Okay. Let's say that we in real troubling times. Well, Christians, followers of Christ are really being persecuted. Okay, and they kidnapped you, Sister E, and they're harassing you, they're torturing you, and they come to you, got you tied up, and finna take your life, right? And they ask you, are you a follower of Christ, right? And you say yes, and then they start to mock you. Oh, you a Jesus follower, Jesus follower, Jesus follower, right? And they calling you a Jesus follower to mock you, right? Would you be ashamed of being called a Jesus follower?
I wouldn't be ashamed of being called a follower of Christ. My point is this, though. There are going to be some that call themselves Christian. Christian is a term that anybody can follow. We know people who call themselves Christians that live unholy and unrighteous lifestyles, but they follow the faith itself, far as the customs of what we consider to be
But
Christian.
isn't that vice versa? Isn't that vice versa?
Let me finish.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But the title of Christian itself does not necessarily say that you are a follower of Christ. I'm going to be brutally honest. I get more condemnation saying that I follow the Hebraic customs of Jesus Christ and the apostles. If I say, when you look at the concept and the construct of Christianity, let's look at the history of Christianity. How is it something that you're being condemned about when it became Roman law in the Edict of Milan? When you even look at our Constitution now, Christianity is something that they follow. In fact, now you got a situation in Nigeria where Muslims, they said that they're bombing them because they're persecuting Christians. And the dominant culture, which is considered to be United States, is bombing the hell out of Nigeria right now. So who is if Christians are being persecuted for the faith itself, when you say the title of Christian, show me. Because if I see anything, that's the dominant faith within which the dominant culture. Now, the U.S. is considered to be the dominant culture. Everybody speaks English. Everybody, just like Rome, just like all these empires, the major empires coming out of the U.S., United States. What's the dominant religion within the United States, which is Christianity? I'm not being persecuted for going to Sunday worship. I've never been persecuted for being a Christian. In fact, I'm more protected if I call myself a Christian than I would someone who calls himself an Israelite, who follows the book of the Old Testament and the New Testament and believe in the law and believe in following the steps. Condemnation comes there. When people hear that, they begin to call you Judaizer. They begin to call you all types of slurs. I promise you, it's easier to be called a Christian than it is being someone who follows the Hebraic faith. And you know this. We see this in Clubhouse all the time.
Well, I agree and then I disagree. Okay. There's always an exception to the law, right? Because in Jerusalem, I heard that Christians are mocked. Okay, right? But this is the same nation that the Christians in America love the Jews and send them millions and billions of dollars. Okay, right? But if you preach the gospel out there, they're gonna give you a hard time. Okay,
correct, because they don't believe in Christ. It's not
exactly,
the title,
but
it's the Christ part of it.
But hold on, let me make my point. Let me make my point, sister. I know you got your stands. I get it. Okay, but then in Nigeria, the reason why they're bombing the Muslims is because they're killing the Christians, literally. Okay, and then the Christians are taught to not return anger with anger. Okay, so I'm not against America helping the Christians in those Muslim countries.
They bombing the crap out of Nigeria right now.
Yeah, but where were you when they was killing the Christians?
Huh?
Where were you when they was killing the Nigerian Christians? I remember watching a video of a guy with a AK-47 shooting up a church.
But I also have seen situations where Muslims are being persecuted as well.
So, but you see that it depends on the area.
I see your point, but let's go back. But let's go back into my concept of what's the dominant culture.
The dominant culture is Christianity, but check this out.
The dominant culture, yes, keyword. That's the dominant culture.
Yeah.
Why is Christianity the dominant culture?
Oh, right now because we're blessed. I'm gonna be honest with you. That's the only way I can say it. Okay. But the scripture says that there's going to be a time where that's not going to be true. It's coming. It's definitely coming. And if you don't see that it's coming, then you're literally living with your eyes closed.
But it goes back into the concept of, are you truly a follower? Because again, I can call myself a Christian all day, but in my heart, Christ is not going to say, was you a Christian? He going to say, depart from me.
Yeah, that's facts. But that's
of iniquity.
I agree.
When he says, depart from me, you workers of iniquity, he's not going to say, depart from me because you wasn't a Christian. Depart from me because you sinful and you didn't follow me.
I agree.
The concept of being somebody, they're going to kill you, not because you're calling yourself a Christian. They're killing you because you're following Christ. If I say that I follow Christ, I could be Christian and then they can take me out here and say, I'm going to string you up. Do you deny Christ? Yeah, I deny Christ.
See, but that was my whole point, Sister Eve.
Let me finish my point, though. But the problem is not the title, it's who you following. So it doesn't matter if I call myself a Christian, if I call myself a Hebrew, because they can tell me, I'm a Hebrew. Oh, you're a Hebrew, but do you follow Christ? Yes, I follow Christ.
They'll probably let you slide if he says you're a Hebrew.
Oh, no. They're not going to make you slide because they hate him. Not the term Christian. They hate Christ. The problem is going to be Christ not being called a Christian.
But a Hebrew.
And again, but the thing is, in that, Christians will get caught up in it, but they're Hebrews that believe upon Christ. They're going to be persecuted. The Christ itself is what's going to cause the persecution, and that's what I'm saying. They're going to want you to deny me. He said, He said, deny me in front of men. Don't deny me. That's what That's going to be the fight, denying him, because there's a lot of Christians out here that don't have the heart of Christ in them.
I hear you, but Sister E, if you go to a Christian hating country or area, okay, and they rounding up Christians, they literally going house to house looking for followers of Christ, all right, and they put a gun to your head and they ask you, "What are you?" Right? Are you a Christian? And you say, "No, I'm not a Christian. I'm a follower of Christ, or I'm a Hebrew." Right? You have a better chance of making it without getting killed, saying that you're a Hebrew. That is a fact.
But no, it's not, because
you black too.
No,
they don't know what that means.
The follower of Christ is the most important aspect of it, and that's what you're missing. Because even when we look at Israel invite Christian churches to come up. They don't have a problem with Christian churches. They don't have a beef with Christian churches. Churches have partnerships.
You got to do your research, Sister Eve.
I've done my research. You have a foundation that partners with the Jewish faith, with the Jewish people, which is the Christian and the Jewish coalition. They have a whole coalition within Israel that they work together on. But the problem is the Jews but don't give me Christ, because I don't want your Christ. Period. They don't care nothing about Christians. They hate Christ. Christ is the most important aspect of it. If I say that I'm a Hebrew, the next thing they're going to ask me, do you follow Christ? Yes, I follow Christ.
But Sister, I don't get your logic. Your logic is not making no sense.
My logic makes a lot of sense, because the Christian means nothing. The Christ is what's important.
Yeah, but
you can profess to be Christian all day long. The problem is there are Christians out here that don't understand, don't follow, and will deny Christ. The Christian aspect of it will not be when it gets to finish what I'm saying, Dwayne. If I'm a Hebrew and they ask me, you're a Hebrew, cool. Do you follow Christ? Because the Bible scripture says
they gotta ask that.
Deny me. Christ said you're denying me. So if you were, let's say I am calling myself a Christian. What if I don't call myself a Christian and I'm out there and they say, but do you follow Christ? What would be the problem? What if I say I don't call myself a Christian, but I follow Christ?
Sister E, I don't know what world you live in, but
I live in the same world you live in, where Muslims get persecuted here. Just like
Yes.
Christians have a safe haven. Each country, based on the dominant faith, that's where you're going to see persecution. UK, you're not going to be persecuted as a Christian. European, listen, what I'm saying. When you look at the league, listen to what I'm saying. When you look at the League of Nations, when you look at the NATO's, when you look at the UN, when you look at EU, the dominant faith amongst majority, a lot of them are Christian. A lot, especially when you're dealing with the EU, which is the European Union. A lot of
Sister
them.
E, you are all over the place, Sister E.
I'm not all over the place. What I'm saying is this: Christianity does not save you. End of discussion. Period. It does not save you.
Sister E, let me ask you a question, please. Please, let me ask you a question. If you run into a Muslim, right?
I have a ton of Muslim friends.
Okay.
What are you talking about?
Have you ever ran into a Muslim that don't believe Muhammad is a prophet?
Every single one of them that I know, all of them believe Muhammad is the prophet. What are you talking about?
So when you say that a person could be a Christian, they claim to be a Christian, but they don't believe in Jesus and they don't follow Christ. That is the same as saying a person who is a Muslim, right, and don't believe that Muhammad is a prophet. That's on the same level, Sister E.
But you're missing what I'm saying because you're so in love with that title.
No, I'm not. I don't care about that title.
Listen to what I'm saying. I can call myself Christian all day long and truly don't follow Christ.
You can call yourself a Hebrew and don't follow Christ, right, Sister E?
I don't disagree. With you. The final equation, though, is: do you truly follow Christ?
True.
Christians can say I'm Christian all day long, just like Hebrews can say they're Hebrew all day long. The common denominator is Christ. So calling myself a Christian is not going to save you. Just like calling myself a Hebrew ain't going to save me.
But Sister E,
I can say,
but Sister E,
the thing is this, listen, one more point I'm finna make. Even with the Christians over there, we're supposed to preach the gospel, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they have a partnership with the Jews. If you're truly a follower of Christ, you're going to teach the true Bible and call Christ the true Messiah. They're not going to do that. They're going to deny it. When you don't speak of Christ, you're pretty much denying him. Right or wrong?
Sister E, if you don't speak of Christ, you deny him? You said if you don't speak of Christ, you deny him? I mean, yeah.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. But Sister E, let me make my point. Please let me make my point. Let me make my point. I understand it's your show, and you got to make strong points on your show. I get it. Okay. But listen to this, Sister E, right? The difference between being called a Hebrew and being called a Christian is being called a Christian has more stronger of a definition of you are a follower of Christ being called a Hebrew. Okay? Because you can be a Hebrew. I agree. I'm not fighting against that, right? But being called a Hebrew has more ties with you are a believer of Yahweh or Jehovah way more than a person who is a Christian would have ties with being a follower of Jesus Christ. Okay? That's a fact. Okay? Now, a person can't, because in the very definition of a Christian is that you are a follower of Christ. But being a Hebrew, it does not mean that you are a follower of Christ.
Just like being a Christian doesn't mean you're a follower of Christ.
Yes, it does. Yes, it's in the definition.
So if you listen to what I'm saying, and you're missing what I'm saying because you're in love with
I might be fully missing it.
Just like with the Christian nationalists, they believe in Christ, but do they truly follow Christ?
Okay, go ahead. I'm
asking, if I say if somebody walks and said they're a Christian nationalist, but they got Christian right there, would you say that they're a follower of Christ?
That's okay. Okay, I believe even if you called a Christian, don't necessarily mean that you're a follower of Christ.
That's my point.
Okay, I got you.
Regardless of what, it's because you said, show me where somebody is a Christian. You said this. that are not a follower of Christ. The Christian nationalist does not follow Christ.
This is my point, and I hope you understand what I'm saying. Okay, if you have a person who claims to be a Christian and a person who claims to be a Hebrew, there is a higher percentage of a chance that the person who claims to be a Christian is a follower of Christ.
Not necessarily. You're looking at, and what's jacked up is what the way you're looking.
Now you're not being fair now.
Okay, I rephrase that. But I don't agree with you is being a follower of Christ is not verbally saying I follow Christ. Being a follower of Christ is showing that you're a follower of Christ.
I agree, Sister Eve.
That's why I brought up, you said, show me a Christian that does not follow Christ. A Christian nationalist does not follow Christ.
Sister Eve, I think you playing games now.
No. A Christian nationalist, do they follow Christ?
I told you that's Christians. Right? That's actual Christians that don't follow Christ. Under that very title.
So Christian does not make you a follower of Christ.
True.
Christian does not make you a follower of Christ.
True.
At all. You can carry that, and I prove to you there is somebody that's labeled a Christian that does not follow Christ. So
True.
They can walk in a room and say, I'm a Christian, but I'm a Christian nationalist.
What's a Christian nationalist? What's a Christian nationalist?
Christian nationalist, those that you don't know. You know, Dwayne, don't play with me. You know what?
No, I don't. I really don't know what a Christian nationalist is. Honestly.
You know what a Christian. You really don't know. Dwayne, don't. Play
I don't. I'm being honest. I'm being honest.
Let me give you the definition of a Christian nationalist.
Yeah, let me hear this. Because I think you're missing the whole point, Steve.
I'm not missing your point. I see your point, but there are certain aspects of your point
that
I don't agree with.
If you ain't missing it, then you so dodging it. You dodging my point then.
I am getting your point because I'm going to go to the Christian nationalists. They are the ones that believe in Christ, but utilize the concept of state policy, economics, and it's more so white nationalism. And they utilize race to propagate that they are considered to be the true Christians.
You talking about the KKK?
No, white Christian nationalists.
No, I really haven't. Probably have never caught my attention.
What happened to my stream? Oh, shoot. Am I still up here? What happened to Dwayne, y'all? I must have. Hold on. Can y'all still hear me? Give me a 1. Let me see. Give me a 1 if y'all can hear me. Hello, can y'all hear me? Okay. I don't know what happened.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. So Christian nationalism isn't being a Christian who isn't just being a Christian who loves America. The sources pull from an outline as it is specific political religious ideology with an identifiable.
Read that slow for me so I can fully understand.
Christian nationalism isn't just being a Christian who loves America. The source you pull, because the source that I pull outlined the specific political and religious ideologies that's tied to this actual belief. So Christian nationalism is America as a Christian nation, the belief that the United States was founded as a Christian nation and must remain one. Support for the government formally declares the U.S. a Christian nation and basing laws on Christian values. So they ultimately basing the laws on Christian values.
Okay, I guess I'm a Christian nationalist, man.
Fusions of Christianity with whiteness. National identity is tied to both Christian and white cultural dominance.
No. See, that's Ku Klux Klan, huh?
So the Klan calls themselves, going back to my original point, don't the Klan call themselves Christians?
Yes, they do.
Are they followers of Christ?
To their knowledge, they think they following Christ.
Not their knowledge, based on truly being a follower of Christ.
No, they're not a follower of Christ. I believe they following Christ.
White Christian nationalists, are they followers of Christ?
No, they are not.
So calling yourself a Christian doesn't necessarily mean you follow Christ. You can say it for
okay. What about Hebrew? Does that necessarily mean?
There's some Hebrews, but with that being said, it's not the title; it's who you truly follow.
True, I agree.
Because the thing is, when you're dealing with America, America is the dominant culture. Most Christians live here. When you look at persecution, let's look at Rome. When Christians were persecuted, they were persecuted within Rome, which was the dominant culture.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got the Edict of Milan, and you have those different edicts that in the Roman state made Christianity legal. Now let's look at the United States. If you're a Christian, you can practice within the dominant culture and be safe, correct?
You said within Christianity, you can practice the dominant culture?
You can practice Christianity within the U.S., which is the dominant culture.
Yeah.
Okay. So with that being said, when you look at the concept of persecution, yes, they're going to be it's going to be persecution all over the world. Muslims get persecuted. Jews get persecuted.
Facts.
Buddhists get persecuted. Women get persecuted. Christians are being persecuted in Nigeria. Women are being persecuted in Nigeria. But when you look at the United States, which is the dominant culture, like Rome, are Christians being persecuted?
No.
So with that being said, I think that the persecution is going to be tied to, are you truly following Christ? Because when Christ says, take up my cross and follow me, take up your cross and follow me, he's not saying being a Christian.
Yeah, but here's what your flaw is, Sister E. I hear what you're saying. Yeah, you never got a flaw.
I ain't got a flaw.
But let me help you point out your flaw.
So that's fine. I have no flaw.
Yeah, you do. But here it is. We could go all day. Okay. Listen, here's the problem. Okay, when that's getting to the point of time when there's real persecution coming, and they trying to take a person's life for what they believe, they don't know if you a true follower or not. They can't read your mind, and they don't know to or fro. Okay, so my point is my point. Okay, but if you say out of your mouth that you are a Christian, the first thing that pops in a person's head is, oh, he believes in Jesus. Oh yeah, we're gonna get him. But if you say that you're a Hebrew, they gotta ask you a few more questions. That's all I'm saying, Sister E.
If I'm a Hebrew, because if you want to look at it, Hebrew were the original followers of Christ.
True, facts.
So to put Hebrew before Christian is just diabolical in every sense. To put Christian before Hebrew, that's diabolical in every sense.
Okay, but who was the first people to be called Christians?
It was the original Hebrews, and they didn't call themselves. Christ didn't call them Christians.
Who was the first group of people to be called Christians?
Hebrews.
Thank you.
Let's look up how Christian came about. Oh, we finna go here. Hold on. Because even the term Christian was something that was man-made. They called them that. Somebody else called them that. Did they call themselves Christians? Or did they get the title Christian from someone else? I'm asking you that question.
They got it from someone else.
Yes. So, but when you called yourself, let's say Israel or a Hebrew, did a man come up with the name, or did God call him that? His chosen people. Who gave him that title? Dwayne. Hello, Dwayne. Where are you?
My bad. I'm driving on my way home. I just switch my earpiece. Now what you say?
So, who gave them that title? Was it a man? In fact, I'm gonna ask you a question. How did the title Christian come about in the Bible? Walk me through it.
Well, I'm going off of what I heard people broke down. That they was calling Christians as a form of mockery.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, but what they had to do with what we talking about?
That right there, off the rip, they were not truly. They were called followers of the way.
Okay,
That
and
was
you could be
the
called a
title that
follower the
they
way.
gave them that title to mock them, but actually, it was the following of Christ that they had the problem with. That wasn't something that God says, "Be a Christian." That's my whole point. When Christ comes back, listen, is Christ gonna come back and look at you? Is Christ gonna look at you and say, "Are you a Christian?"
No,
Or is
he's
he gonna say, "Are you gonna follow me?"
okay. See, this what I mean by, Christ is not petty. God is not petty at all.
But the thing is he gonna say, "Are you a Christian or do you follow me?"
He's gonna judge you off if you following him.
Okay, so why is Christian is something again man came up with. Let's just be honest. The term Christian came up by a man.
Follower of the way was something man came up with too.
Follower of the way and Christian is not the same thing. Being honest, the follower of the way is just follower of the way.
So a man they come up with that.
The Christian follows Christ.
Well, show me follower of the way.
A Christian follows Christ, but a follower of Christ doesn't necessarily have to be called a Christian, because it's a follower of Christ that you're trying to be.
But hold on.
So show me in the Bible how Christian came about. Show me.
Show me in the Bible how follower of the way came about.
Show me in the Bible. I answered your question. Show me how Christian came about. Show me.
Well, like I said, then I'm driving too. All right. To my knowledge, they was called Christians as a form of mockery.
So, did Christ say be a Christian?
No, Christ. No, of course. I mean, Christ wouldn't say he a Christian because he the leader. Did
Paul call it? Did Peter call himself a Christian?
Nobody called themselves a Christian.
What did they call themselves?
They call themselves followers of Christ.
But what were they though?
They was followers of Christ.
But when they Hebrews, stop dancing around that. They were Hebrews.
Yeah, they was Gentiles too.
Yeah, they followed Christ.
Okay.
But you asked the question of what was it? Christianity was not something that you have to be a follower of Christ. You're missing my big point. To be a follower of Christ, I don't have to call myself a Christian. And that
first and foremost, I never said that you have to call yourself a Christian.
But you're saying that, well, if you're a Christian, they're going to automatically assume you're a follower of Christ.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
You're talking about people. I'm talking about God. When God looks at you at the end of judgment, or whenever we get to that judgment, is he going to say, well, you're a Christian? You're talking about what men think.
Okay, is he going to say, well, are you a Hebrew?
It doesn't matter. He said, are you a Christian?
Exactly. It doesn't matter. I agree.
Is he going to say, are you a Christian?
Is he going to say, are you a Hebrew?
I'm asking you a question, Dwayne. Is he going to ask you if you're a Christian?
Of course he's not. He's going to look within your heart.
Like even with the Hebrew, he going to ask me, am I Hebrew? Okay. But what's the key thing?
He's not going to ask you, are you Hebrew? Yeah, that's not going to happen.
If he does. Dwayne, don't play with me in the word games. You ask me that question.
Because I'm showing you being petty, sister.
No, I'm not being petty.
Yes, you are.
Asks me, I'm not being petty. If he asks me, am I a Hebrew? That's fine. Just like if he asks you if you're a Christian, that's fine. But what is he really wanting to know? Did you follow me?
Of course. Yeah, of course.
Like you pointed out, you said, if you're a Christian, that means you follow Christ. No, you don't. You got white Christian nationalists walking around. You have the
Sister, you being petty now.
But no, I'm being honest. You asked me, hey y'all, give me a 1 if I'm being petty with Dwayne. Give me a 2 if I'm not being petty with Dwayne. There's some Christians in here as well.
Well, I'm driving. I can't put my what's it 1?
If I'm being petty with Dwayne.
Yeah, I'm putting my 1 in. My 1 is in there.
Give me a 1, and then I gotta go to bed because I gotta drive in the morning.
Yeah, you been petty though, sister.
I'm not being
you
petty.
Really are.
I'm definitely not being petty.
I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna tell you why.
The title Christian doesn't make you a follower of Christ. That's what
I agree. I agree.
If you title yourself as a Christian, you keep saying, "What is man gonna see?" Man see a lot of people that call themselves Christians and not follow Christ. The end result is when we stand before Him in the judgment seat, He's not gonna ask you, "Are you a Hebrew?" or He's not gonna ask you if you're a Christian. What He's gonna ask you is, because the conversation is not centered around Hebrew, it's centered around Christian. If you're a Christian, do you truly follow Christ? No, you do not. You don't. Christian doesn't say automatically make you a follower of Christ. The way you conduct yourself, the way you act, your heart, being filled with the Spirit, that makes you a follower of Christ.
True.
So calling myself a Christian, it doesn't matter. You keep saying, well, what men are going to see? Men going to see a lot of things, and it ain't going to be true. I'm not concerned about what Dwayne see, what anybody see. He's not going to care when he meets me to say, were you a Christian?
Right.
So it goes back to my original point.
Yeah, that's a good mindset to have.
Calling yourself Christian ain't going to save you, period.
I never said it. I never said it would.
Christian is not going to Christian, and we see that there are multiple concepts of Christian, multiple denominations of Christianity, period. But with that being said, calling yourself a Christian doesn't mean that you're a follower of Christ. And I'm going to stand on being
I agree.
So Christianity it doesn't matter. Being a Christian doesn't matter. Do you follow Christ? That's the end result.
Sister, hey, I understand this your show, and you got to get that strong point, because sister, you got to be right at the end of the show. Right?
I'm going to be right. I just don't agree. Everybody who calls themselves Christian doesn't mean they follow Christ.
And everybody that calls themselves Hebrew don't mean they follow Christ.
I agree. I agree.
So let me make this point. Jesus said, unless your righteousness exceed the Pharisees and the Sadducees, you will by no means enter into the kingdom. Okay? Because if you are ashamed of me before man, Jesus said that He's going to be ashamed of you before His Father.
And that's not making
So if the reason why you don't want to be called a Christian, is because you are ashamed of being a follower of Christ, then that's something that you need to check yourself for. Because that's all what a Christian is, a follower of Christ. And I'll land right there.
So if that's the case, then let's talk about Peter. Peter didn't call himself a Christian, but he was a follower of Christ. Does that make him ashamed?
Peter is from a totally different time period than we are.
At the time, even Peter was rocking with Paul when they called him, when they were called Christians. But Peter wouldn't call himself a Christian.
So if let me really think about what you said. So if Peter was called a Christian for the first time, and he didn't know what it was, and he asked, "Hey, what is a Christian? You call me a Christian. What does that mean?"
But you're the one that
said, mean that you're a follower of Christ.
But
do you think Peter's gonna be offended?
Didn't you just say if you deny being a Christian, you're saying you're in front of the people, you're denying being a follower of Christ? Did you say?
No, I didn't say that. No.
Repeat what you said. I misspoke. Repeat
that. You being picky on what you hear. You being picky on what you hear.
First and foremost, you're going in and out. Let's call that.
Oh yeah, because I'm driving. That's why.
So will you repeat what you said about the last statement you made?
Okay, so let me say it again. Okay. Jesus said unless your righteousness exceeds the Pharisees and the Sadducees, you will by no means enter into the kingdom. Because if you are ashamed of him in front of man, then Jesus said that he will be ashamed of you in front of his Father. Okay? So if you don't want to be called a Christian because you don't want to be looked at as a follower of Christ, then that's something that you need to deal with personally. Because all a Christian means that you are a follower of Christ. Are there Christians that don't follow Christ? Yes. Are there Christians that don't even believe in the scripture period? Yes. Are there Christians that don't even fit the definition of a Christian? Yes. Are there Hebrews fit the definition of a Christian more than a Christian fit the definition?
Again, you're going back.
Yes.
But Dwayne, where you're having issues, and I'm gonna help you, I'm gonna guide you, and I'm gonna slow down.
I don't need no help now, but go ahead.
You need a little help. But with that being said, you said Christian and a follower of Christ. When you said that, if you deny, he says deny me. He didn't say Christian, because there's a lot of people that are Christians walk around here that's still denying them in they walk, they talk, their spirit.
I ain't never said they're not Christian. Don't add words.
When you're going to be condemned in the Bible, when it talks about condemnation, it's going to be those who deny and say, I do not accept Jesus Christ as my Savior. I don't see Jesus Christ. I don't believe in Jesus Christ. That's what you're going to get persecuted for. I mean, that's what you're going to get persecuted for, saying you do not believe in Jesus and you do not follow Christ or Yeshua. That's where the persecution is going to come. The persecution is not going to come within a title, because we know people that are Christians that do a ton of things and accepted by the secular markets and the secular community. But when you profess that you are truly a follower of Christ in your walk, your talk, and talking about him and speaking of him, that's when you're going to be held accountable. Because going back to my original point, true followers of Christ can call themselves, Christian can call themselves Hebrews. The title doesn't make it. It's the follower of Christ, because you got KKK, you got white nationalists, you even have racist Hebrews. Your heart does not speak to being a follower of Christ. You're not a follower of Christ. Your title doesn't make you a follower of Christ. It's you and who you follow. Does that make sense?
That's the whole point I've been trying to make for the longest.
No, you're not. You're trying to make it seem as if you're a Christian and you profess that you're a Christian, people are going to assume that you're a follower of Christ. It does not matter what a man
they are going to assume that, though.
It does not the way, but what I'm saying is it doesn't matter what a man thinks, because it's a lot of people that profess Christian and may think, hey, you follow Christ. Follow Christ doesn't mean, oh, I believe in Christ. Believing in Christ is truly following Christ and believing upon him, walking in love. Loving, because the two commandments that Christ gave you, that's a true follower of Christ, is loving first him and loving your brothers and sisters. So that's the true essence of a Christian right there, or a Hebrew that follows.
Sister E. Did you see
it right here? What does your action say?
Sister E.
Did
you see that video?
What you gonna trip about? It's gonna be some Christians that ain't gonna get persecuted.
Can I make my point, please? Okay. Sister E, did you see that video when ISIS was rampant and they had all of the Christians on their knees because they were going to get ready to chop their head off? Mm-hmm. Okay.
But you're in a Muslim-driven state. If they,
but it's a point. It's a point I'm trying to make. Hold on. Sister E, let me make my point, please. Let me make my point. Okay. Do you think when they gathered them Christians up, do you think that they grabbed them because they claimed that they was Christian, or do you think that they grabbed them up and look what was in their heart and see what they were following Christ when they grabbed them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they follow Christ in a Muslim state. Yes, they got persecuted.
I'm gonna say this
And
one
I
more
don't
time.
disagree with you.
I don't think you heard what I said.
I
don't
heard
think
what you
said.
said because they call themselves Christians. They're in
Thank
the Islamic
you.
state. I
Thank
know
you.
Listen to what I'm saying though. But you're in a Muslim state. That's no different than a Muslim coming here being persecuted.
Why are you looking past my point?
But the thing is, when you're in a dominant country that practices a dominant,
I agree.
That in that state, yes, in the country, you're going to be persecuted. But within the wholeness of what you consider to be the dominant culture, when we look at
but Christians in this country,
the establishment of legalizing Christianity, the Edict of Milan, by way of the Roman state itself, they legalized Christianity. So the dominant culture made Christianity a practicing, considered to be a legal practice or a legal belief system. That's the same thing here. We're in the U.S.
Yes.
This is a dominant culture. So yet and still, while you talk about those same, listen to what I'm saying, Dwayne, those same Muslims that's persecuting the Nigerians that follow Christianity, the dominant culture, which is the United States, which is the Christian nation, is bombing the crap out of Nigeria because of that. Am I right or am I wrong?
Yeah, because the Muslims in Nigeria are killing Christians. Okay.
Yeah. So if that's
you ain't missed that not one time.
But the dominant culture, if we were really being persecuted the way we are, that means the United States would take a blind eye to it and wouldn't care because Christianity is nothing.
So let me ask you a question, sister. Let's see if you're gonna be logical or reasonable. Okay. Are the Christians in America killing Muslims because they are Muslims?
No, because we don't murder people. But
thank you. And then what you mean we?
Wait a minute, hold on.
What do you mean we? Hold on, pause. You said we. What do you mean? No. You said we, sister.
Dwayne, let me finish.
No, stop.
He gonna let me finish. Dwayne, you're gonna let me finish. We're not murdering Muslims because you're living in a country where there's a law that says that you can go to jail for killing anybody. Don't utilize that as your point in argument. But Muslims get persecuted differently. Whenever you hear a situation about where Muslims are deemed to be terrorists, they label them as terrorists. They look at them as terrorists. You got Trump now who's literally made them enemy number one. So don't do that. You cannot murder anybody in this country. Don't do that. Don't do that, Dwayne. You know you can't murder nobody in this country, not do time.
Yeah, like I said, this was Sister E show. Sister E gotta win.
No, I do not. You use a point. No, Dwayne, you use a point that you can't really, that's not even a strong point. Are you able to just murder anybody in the street within the U.S.?
Of course you're not able to do that.
But in those
because we have Christian morals.
Christian
Did you hear that? Yes.
Morals when the foundation of the Christian forefathers was bringing in slavery.
Yeah, of course. At the beginning of the nation. Let me finish. Yes, yes. At the beginning of the nation, those Christian morals was not a fully according to the scriptures, and we know that. Okay. But now, in 2025, you cannot sit here and say it's the same how it was at the beginning of the nation.
Yes, it still is. Yes, it is.
Come on,
because
sister.
when you look at, again, going back to white Christian nationalism, that's something that's prevalent here in the United States. That's the same concept when you brought in slavery. They looked at us as 3/5 a person. That's the same concept. They add a racial. I asked you, did you know about white Christian nationalism? Did I ask you that?
Yes, you did.
Some of the major Christians you follow now. Do you follow Paula White?
I follow Christ. I don't follow.
But do you listen to Paula White's teaching?
I don't know. Nope, zero. Nope.
Paula White is, I think that's Paula White. Paula White was all on TBN, all on the Word Network, and we found out just recently she's affiliated with Christian nationalism. That makes it seem as it gives a white connotation to, or gives a splash of racism. This Americanized Christianity that you keep talking about that's gotten better. It's the same Christianity, but it's wrapped in another
Sister,
package. Just
Sister
here,
E.
listen, just here in the 1960s, the 1970s, 1950s, Christians was hanging black Christians, the same Christians, these white Christians you're talking about, that built this that followed the same Christianity of the forefathers of this nation. It's the same Christianity they follow now. What are you talking about? Why are we having a conversation now about Christian? You don't even know what white Christian nationalism is. Have you done your research on that?
Sister C.
I'm asking you a question, Dwayne. Have you done research on white Christian nationalism?
You already know. I told you I didn't know what it was. Now I know exactly what it is.
Okay. So why are we having this discussion if current Christianity is better?
Okay, so Sister E, listen. Okay. You are a black, independent woman. Okay? Not only are you black, you are an independent woman. Are you married, Sister E?
I was, but
You was? But you're not right now, right?
no, I'm not.
And you by yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
You handling everything all by yourself, right? As a woman. You're not dependent on no man to have to work for you because you can't get a job because you're black and you're a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, Sister E, a lot has changed, sweetheart. Be fair.
Are you serious? Are you serious?
Come on, Sister E.
So you're saying, hold on. So you're saying the remnants of racism that we saw then is still not prevalent. You don't see that now?
That is not what I'm saying. No.
Okay,
no.
so explain.
But the level of that racism has fallen almost completely because we got a black independent woman with her own YouTube show, taking care of her children by herself without a man.
Well,
and she's black, and she's a woman.
So if that's the case, why right now we got a new president in office talking about possibly removing some forms of bringing back segregation, rolling back some of the laws that was implemented.
Sister E, are you a slave?
Dwayne,
are you a slave?
Dwayne, listen to what I'm saying.
Okay, I'm listening.
Black Christian man is right here. You realize that you're dealing in a situation that the same racism that we saw is now slowly but surely trying to rear its head. Now that
it can try, but it's not going to be successful.
It's not. It's not going to be successful.
No, it's not.
It's not going to be successful. Right now, you got a situation where they already hitting the Mexican community. They throwing them over the border. You don't realize you next. You don't realize that you're next. Do you really think that racism is gone away?
Of course, racism ain't going nowhere.
So let's talk about racism. Let's look at the board of CEOs. Out of all these CEOs for these major companies, how many black CEOs do you see?
Not as many as white CEOs.
When you look at the glass ceiling that we all talk about, you know what the glass ceiling is, right?
Let's explain that to me because I don't know what you.
Glass ceiling means that when you go into these companies, you can move up. There's a certain level where you just can't move any higher, and there's like this glass ceiling where you can see everybody else moving up, but you're not necessarily moving up. So
that's because all the way at the top there's nepotism.
What?
That don't got nothing to do with racism.
It's racism.
No, you know what nepotism is?
I work in corporate America, Dwayne.
Do you know what nepotism is?
I know what nepotism is. I work in corporate America.
What is it?
Nepotism means family, and family allows you to
family and friends. Family and friends.
Dwayne, do you work in corporate America?
Nah, I got a trade.
You have experienced corporate.
I work with corporate America.
So when you go into corporate America, how many faces do you see representing you in these major positions like CEOs and COOs and CTOs? How many?
Not as many as you see white, but there's still black faces up there.
It's only a few, but ultimately it has nothing to do with nepotism because half the folk probably are not any kin to each other. It has to do with the fact of access and the color of your skin in some cases. Because when you walk in, let me tell you something. Because I work in corporate America, live in corporate America. It feels different being a black face in corporate America. than it is being another race. Now, where I am now, it's a little bit more. It's better. I love it. I love where I am.
Is it?
I do love it. But
Is
you know
it better
why?
now?
You know why? I have to work 20 times harder. If you knew the amount of education I have you ain't got no choice but to let me in. You ain't got no choice but to let me in.
That's not true.
Shh. The amount of education I
Because
have.
if it was back in the days, they could easily tell you no problem.
Oh yeah,
Hell
you
no.
can, because you got these. You still
And then
have,
throw an N-word on top
have
of it.
some laws that will allow me, but yet it's still. You remember DEI? DEI is gone. When you look at affirmative action is gone.
Did you get fired after that?
To protect us.
When DEI, when they took away DEI, when they took it away, did you get fired?
Black women got hit the hardest.
So you got fired. So you got fired.
Got laid off more than any community, any person.
So you got laid off and fired.
Yes,
you ain't working now.
I didn't get laid off because of DEI, but you saw. But I ain't gonna say because of DEI. They'll never say they laid me off because of DEI, because you're gonna get a lawsuit. You're not gonna do that. But what happened is you see a large number of Black women being laid off because the access to these jobs.
Show me these numbers, because they sound like feelings. Show me numbers.
Let me show you something.
Yeah, because it sounds like feelings right now. Yeah, it sounds like you're going off straight emotions. This is an independent, strong Black woman up here telling me that we still in the same times as it was when women could even work. And if you Black too, oh, you got a double whammy, Sister E. You Black and you a woman. Come on, Sister E. You gotta be real with me now. I hear you, but then I don't hear you at the same time.
Let me get you these stats real quick.
Yeah, let's get these stats. Yeah, America is a Christian nation. That's something that we have to accept. You don't get upset with the Muslim nations; they got their own little nation. You know, the Hebrews got their own nation. Did you know that?
1 second.
Oh, okay.
I'm still not done on that one, because you can't prove to me where Christ is. You got to be a Christian to make it into the kingdom.
Oh my goodness.
That was my point right there. You still can't prove it.
Okay, Sister, you
can't prove it.
You
You can't prove. Show me in scripture where it says you got to be a Christian.
Oh, I'm home now. I never said that. You keep bending and twisting my argument.
Christian doesn't make you a follower of Christ.
That's not even my argument. You know that.
Keep arguing, well, what do people think? It doesn't matter. He doesn't think about what people think. He's thinking about what he thinks.
And what happened? What happened to that debate me and you supposed to have? You keep running from me.
Are we supposed to have? You remember when we were supposed to debate? My dad passed me. Dude.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, my bad.
Yeah. So Black workers are losing shares at big U.S. public companies as conservatives amp up their anti-diversity push ahead of Donald Trump's second presidential term. That's DEI. This is coming from Bloomberg. So you don't tell me this is not racist.
Well, now what you just read? What?
You don't even know what I read.
It didn't even sound like you. It don't sound like you made the point.
Corporate. We said that DEI, more Black people got impacted than any group when they did away with DEI.
And what are you reading? What article? What is this source from?
Bloomberg. Do you know what Bloomberg is?
Yeah, I know what Bloomberg is.
Okay, this is coming from Bloomberg. It says Black workers are losing shares at big U.S. companies.
Shares.
That means access or their workforce is declining when they say shares, meaning they're getting pulled out of the workforce. Black workers are losing shares at big U.S. public companies as conservatives conservatives amp up their anti-diversity push ahead of Donald Trump's second term. First sentence says, for Black employees in America's biggest companies, progress has stalled. What you got to say about that?
I need to see. I need to see more sources because.
There we go. Stop.
Yeah,
I'm bringing you Bloomberg, sir. Very credible source.
Is it just Black people or?
Black people are the most impacted by the decline of DEI, but we were the least. We got least access to DEI, but we're the one that got most impacted when they removed DEI.
Okay, what does it mean we have the least access to it?
Meaning you saw more layoffs. You see a larger number of the job pool, the unemployment rate. Have you looked at the unemployment numbers here in the past couple of months? The biggest group that got impacted by unemployment were Black women.
What about look up how did it affect the white community?
Didn't affect the white community at all.
Yeah, yes it did.
No, it did not.
Type that in real quick.
How is 1 second? DEI was designed to give people, minorities, access. Why are you asking me about the white community? Are they considered to be a minority?
No. In certain subjects, they are in minority. In certain, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
You're very wrong.
Hold on, let me do it because I know you ain't gonna look it up. Okay. So let me look it up.
Go ahead.
Okay, hold on. Cause you been selective. Let me clear this. Each community, active community. Yeah, you playing games. Bye. Okay. Let's see what we find. Ooh, hold on, wait a minute.
Somebody said white women are considered to be minorities. They are, but when you look at the stats, who got the most impacted? Going back to my original question, and I'm gonna ask you, popping off coach channel, who got the most impacted by the new anti-DEI policies? Who got the most impacted?
Okay. All right. I got some information.
Let me show one thing. You got it. Let me show this really quick. This one stat. See this right here? And this comes from the Story Exchange. You can even look at Forbes. What did it say? Let me share something. No, I do not want to purchase Forbes. I'm going to share this with you. And then you got it. This is Forbes. The economy slumps. This is just November 30th, 2025, just a month ago or 2 months ago. The economy slumps and DEI backlash are hitting Black women the hardest. The U.S. economy has been cooling for months. Inflation on essential goods remains stubborn. Interest rates are still high. Wages are still flattening, and working families across America feel pressure But while the slowdown affects nearly every demographic, no group is being hit the hardest, being hit harder, or with the more lasting consequences than Black women. This is coming from Forbes. Now, what you got? Do you know what Forbes is, Dwayne?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so Forbes is saying this, and this is a brand new article that just came out November 30th, 2025. This is recent. Now, what you got to share?
Hold on, I'm still popping up doing stuff. I'm trying to make sure I get all the information I can get. Okay, all right. This is what I get. Okay, I okay. Here's a clear summary of how rolling back or taking away DEI has effect. Taking away DEI policies has affect different ethnic groups, especially in the United States. And we got a bunch of sources, but here it is: Black Americans, career and employment.
Give me the article. Drop the article. I want to share it so people can read it with you.
I'm gonna give you everything, each one. I'm gonna
send it. You can't drop it in the chat because I want people to read it with you.
Can I do it? I don't know how to do it.
Okay, go ahead, share it. You got access to share.
I don't know. I don't know how to do that, Sister E. I don't want to lose.
Popping off channel. That was Forbes. Forbes said the group, the demographic that got hit the hardest due to the rollback of DEI was Black women.
How do you share?
How
do you do all that?
Well, drop the link here. Oh, give me the title. Do you have the title of the article you're reading?
It's a bunch of them. I did like a quick search and they group it all together.
Okay.
Let me see. You said I can share. How do I do that?
It's a little button down here that looks like a TV screen, and it's got a plus sign. You click that plus sign, and then you hit share screen.
See, I'm on my phone.
Okay, so you can't drop it in the chat.
I'm on because it's on StreamYard. That's why I'm. Let me see. Hold on. Let me go back to YouTube. Can I be watching you live on the YouTube and also on the?
Yeah, and just drop it in the chat.
Okay, let me see. Hold on. I ain't the brightest guy.
Now, don't go get no shady articles, Dwayne, because I just came with real live articles coming from.
This why my articles gotta be shady?
Forbes is economists. They dealing with the economy. It's considered a business journal. It's considered to be a good source when it's talking about business and what's going on with the job market.
Okay.
If you go get Ed's channel, Ed's favorite news station, I'm gonna look at you crazy.
I'll do that.
And then I'm thinking, but going back to my original point, Christian does not make you a follower of Christ. Wrong, right, or indifferent. I don't care what you say. I can be a follower of Christ and not call myself a Christian. It doesn't matter of what a man thinks of me. It matters of what Christ is going to think of me. He's not going to say, I knew you not, or you denied me in front of everybody. He's not going to say you denied Christianity. He's going to say you denied me.
Okay. So I dropped it in the chat. So let me read this. Okay.
Where you drop it in the chat?
It's in the chat. Can I read the first? I can drop all the stuff in the chat. I dropped the first one in the chat.
Yeah, it's a bunch of links. Come on, read. Tell me what's the name of the article you got it from.
This is the Atlanta Voice. Okay. And it says career and employment impacts. It says many Black women federal workers lost jobs or were removed from roles that were not even tied to DEI functions after federal DEI staff were put on leave or terminated. A significant share of affected employees were people of color, especially Black women, right? Educational and institutional impacts. Programs that previously supported Black students and colleges access campus identity spaces and inclusive educational resources are being dismantled or weakened, hurting the representation and support system. And that is from what's the name is the National
Is
College.
this article? Because you ain't dropped it. Hold on one second. You didn't drop it. Is this the
I
article?
did it.
You didn't drop the article down there.
I did drop it. I'm gonna drop the
I
next one
didn't,
now.
I didn't get it. Is this the article?
Let me see. I can't see what you. Let me see. Hold on.
I went to Atlanta Voices and it says Trump administration DEI rollbacks leave Black women in federal jobs vulnerable.
Yeah, that's it. It's
It
in
says
there.
a sweeping rollback of diversity, equity, and inclusion programs under Trump's administrations has left Black women disproportionately affected.
Yeah,
So they were affected by it, though.
yeah. That's what I'm saying. I'm being fair. I'm reading the effect that it had on each community, not just
Mhm.
Black. Okay.
Okay.
So this is just the Black. I put the educational effects. I put that in the chat. So you want to pop that up? Okay. Then the educational institutional impacts. It said programs that previously supported Black students in colleges access campus identity spaces and inclusive educational
So,
resources are being dismantled or weakened, hurting representation and support systems. That's an educational impact. Okay. Then this is community and civil rights concerns, and this is the NAACP. All right. It
so
says
let's go
civil.
back. Let's go back to the Atlanta article real quick. We ain't gonna sweep past that.
Okay,
So
go ahead.
go
Oh,
back
we're
and
gonna focus on that, huh?
No, we're just gonna go back to that because I don't want us to move too fast. So it
Okay.
says the nonprofit newsroom found that the administration's board executives' actions to dismantle DI programs have upheaved the careers of many long-serving civil servants, despite their job having no direct connection to diversity initiatives.
Facts.
So
That's what I read.
listen to that though.
I know exactly what this
It
means.
says that the dismantle, even though their jobs had nothing to do with DEI, they still got impacted by the
I
dismantle.
understand that,
So
Sister
Black women still
E.
got DEI. They still got impacted. Carry on.
But Black women are not the only one who got impacted. This is the point I'm trying to make. But you keep stopping me.
Only. I said the group that got the most impacted.
Yeah, but you made it seem like only Black people got impacted by that, and that's not true.
I said mostly Black, but you can't include white men in DEI because that was utilized for minorities. White men are not considered to be minorities unless they carry other titles, like they're considered to be gay or they're considered to have other things that put them in the DEI. But a straight white man is not considered to be a minority. So what other group are you going to show me? I need to see percentages because even when you're reading this Atlanta article, it still says the same thing I'm saying. Black women got the most impacted. So you see that racism is still there. Even more proves my case that racism is still there because some of these women's jobs did not tie to DEI, but they still ended up getting fired. Right or wrong?
Say the last part again.
I said you proved my point that racism is still prevalent in these companies and corporations and federal jobs.
I told you, but Sister E, see, that's why we be going in circles. I told you racism is still here and it ain't going nowhere. You know this.
You said,
but guess what? Guess what, Sister E? You are still a Black woman.
Yes,
that's
I am.
Independent and that don't need no man.
Correct. But yet,
and you handling everything all by yourself without a man
But
working
yet,
for you because you can't get a job.
still ask yourself this question: do I still experience some form of racism as I go
You
to school?
all yes, of course you're gonna experience some form of
Right.
racism.
And do you realize how hard it is I have to work to get to where I am? I'm not gonna say
How
I don't
hard you had to work, Sister E?
very
How
hard,
hard?
very hard, very hard. You go look
Did
at
you
my
have to work harder than that black
go
woman that was a slave?
go look at the pet. I thank God for the black woman that stood on my behalf so that I can get some of this access.
Thank you.
But go look
Thank
at my
you.
1 second though. But go look at my pedigree, and you'll see why I'm where I am. Where I have peers that don't look like me, that don't have the same pedigree, and probably manage me. Do you realize how many white women have managed me and they don't even have college degrees? Don't have college degrees. Do you think I could do the same thing?
Well, you let that happen.
Huh? How do I let that happen? What do you mean,
Because
how
I
I
wouldn't let it happen.
how do I let that happen? Explain
I'm
that.
being silly. I'm being silly though.
Oh, you're being
But
stupid. But yet it's still.
experience does equal is equivalent to a degree though. You know that, right?
You said what? No, not necessarily.
Experience is equal to a degree. Yes, it is.
Not necessarily. Not
Here we go.
necessarily.
Now, here go.
Because
Not
when you
necessarily. Here
have
we go.
when they bring you in to help now the current place I'm at, I love it. Like I said, they really see my skill and they see my talent, and I like that. And I'm gonna be brutally honest.
Mhm.
I get more acceptance from white men than I do white women. Never have a problem with white men. Have
Oh,
never
why?
I never had a
Why?
problem. You know why? You know why? Because they know I'm
Why
gonna
is
do my
that?
job.
Why is
They know I'm
that?
gonna do my job. But yet and still, the way I
You,
work
you
it
don't
is
think it's because they like that black woman that's working hard? You don't think that don't got nothing to do with it?
yeah, I ain't gonna knock that. But I ain't gonna ever tell you I've never went to a company.
Okay then. All right then.
Listen,
Okay
Dwayne,
then.
listen, I'm saying my current place. But yet and still, I ain't gonna ever say I've never went into a job where I've had more experience than my white counterparts, more education than my white counterparts, and my white counterparts are 2 to 3 steps ahead of me. I ain't gonna ever say that I've never experienced that.
Sister E, right? I
And
have coworkers.
have gotten looked over
This
for promotions. Don't play. I've been there.
Sister E, listen to this. I have coworkers, people that I work with, telling me about their wives. One in particular, okay, she started out working at a bank, okay, and she was so good at what she did that they gave her a higher position where you supposed to have a degree to get that job. And they gave it to her because she was so good at what she did, and she was black with just a regular high school diploma. They had to secretly pay for her to go to school and get her degree.
Stop right there.
Go
Why would they
ahead.
have to secretly do that when they do that with other people? Why would they secretly have to do that?
Because they know that if there was people with the degrees complaining and saying how she get this, and they was able to do the same thing that she was able
And,
to do,
and then
it would
how
have
many
looked bad on their part. It would have looked
so
bad on their part.
how many times have you heard that story too as well? Is
I've
that
heard
something
it quite a
that
few times with black sisters.
do you frequently? I don't frequently hear that. Black sisters I know, we worked hella hard. You have to work hella hard to get visibility. You got to always know the answer. You got to always be able to speak to something. You can't fall short one time. Whereas in some places that I work for, my other counterparts may know less, and they're given a level of grace that I'm not given. And I felt that.
And
I
how
know.
do you know that? How do you know that?
Excuse me, just in
You,
conversation and understanding, do they
well, okay,
understand?
what did you hear in
Do you
conversation? What did you
understand?
hear?
Okay, so when you go into some of these meetings and you start
Uh
talking
huh.
about processes or things you're getting ready to change and things you're getting ready to work on, some things you're going to move and do and such and do all this, and then when your white counterparts come back and try to ask you questions or present the same piece of information and it doesn't meet to your standard or what you did, you know right there they don't know what they're talking about.
Well. First and foremost, let me say this, and let me make this perfectly clear. Okay, I never been in management and in that type of field because I got a trade. I work on trucks. Okay. Um, but I have always worked around it. I've been around it, worked around engineers and all type of stuff, you know. And one thing I know that in those jobs are cutthroat jobs. There's always somebody trying to take your job, Sister E. There's always somebody trying to take your credit, Sister E.
So, with that being said,
right or wrong,
right. But do you think
white or black?
Right.
There's white people cutting other white people.
One second. Corporate America is very cutthroat.
Yeah, corporate America is very cutthroat.
But do you think that?
I know that for a fact.
But do you think that there's a such thing as a glass ceiling?
Explain to me what do you mean by that? Because I didn't know what you saying.
You've never heard of glass ceiling before.
Yes, I have, but I need to hear how your mind process
you tell
right
me
now.
what you think glass ceiling is first, and then I correct you.
No, I don't know what it means.
You really don't know what that means.
I don't know what it means, Sister E.
So you sitting, you telling me all this stuff, and you don't even understand what glass ceiling is.
I don't.
Let me give you a little article, and then I'm getting ready to go to bed because I got to get up in the morning. So
but just tell me what it means. Tell me what
let me read this. So I'm reading SHRM, which is considered a very.
Why you gotta read the article? You can just say what you gotta say.
The very top of the article will explain my point. A glass ceiling is hindering black employees' growth. Okay, according to a record number of black executives oversee some of the most successful companies in the U.S. Still, some workplace experts believe too many qualified professionals hit a glass ceiling that prevents them from fully reaching their potential. Let me go back and reread it because I read it fast and I'm sleepy. A record number of black executives oversee some of the most successful companies in the U.S. Still, some workplace experts believe too many qualified black professionals hit a black ceiling that prevents them from fulfilling their full potential. 8 black CEOs lead Fortune 500 companies, the most ever, with a doubling number from 2020. But black people still represent 1.6% of Fortune executives and 5.2% of all of the chief executives in the U.S., despite comprising 13% of the labor force. So the glass ceiling is a way of preventing you to get to the next level. You can see everybody else moving up. You look up and you see the glass ceiling. You can't get through it. You feel like you can because you can see it, but you never get no further than that one point. So when you look at these statistics, you can't tell me something ain't wrong.
Sister E, let me say something to you. Let me say this. Sister E, like I said, I never worked in corporate America, but I worked around corporate America. Okay. And at the top, it's a lot of nepotism going on at the time.
Oh my God. Did you just say nepotism?
Okay. You can't. Yes, I know. Yes. Yeah. I know for a fact.
Prove it.
Because they all hang with each other. They go to the same golf clubs. They are part of all the same memberships. They live in the same neighborhoods.
Racism.
Okay, I'm gonna give you a good example. I'm gonna give you a good example.
All them same golf clubs. How many black people have access to those? They still
have. Okay. So let me get this out, Sister E, please.
Brought up the country clubs. The country club is more racist than corporate America.
Sister E.
Oh my God!
Listen to me, Sister E.
I gotta go to bed now.
I'm gonna let you go to bed, but let me just say this last part, and I'm gonna let you go to bed. Okay. I work for a company called Navistar. Okay. Navistar is they build trucks. All right. The plant manager at the time that I worked at that company was a white guy. Okay. This is a $1 billion company. Okay. He ended up losing his position because he dabbling with the ladies. Okay. He and the person who replaced him as plant manager was a black guy. I seen him with my own eyes. Okay, but this wasn't just any black guy, Sister E. This was one of the buddy black guys who you go golfing with, who you went on fishing trips with, who's a part of the same membership. You know what's dude's name? The black surgeon. I forgot his name. That was under Trump. He was a part of. I forgot he was a part of what the. What was that? That branch that's dealing with housing, right? But anyway, you know what I'm talking about. He was a part of the buddy group. Okay, at the top, it is nepotism. It's buddy, friends. They let their buddy get these positions, and then all their friends are white. That's who gonna get the position. But if you got a friend that's black and he's a part of the buddy, he can get the position too. Because at the top, it's nepotism, not racism. And I know that for a fact.
You don't know that for a fact.
Oh, I know that for a fact, Sister E.
Look, when we go right here, I did show you stats.
Okay, Sister E.
And the thing is, it goes into entrenched attitudes and stereotypes about what type of people should get the most senior jobs at a company. That's key right there. Even though right there, it explains to you the stereotype of who should be in those.
The reason why it's like that at the top of these positions is because you gotta be a part of the buddy group.
Do you
gotta be a friend.
But
you gotta be a compadre.
But the buddy system consists of majority white men.
That's because that's who they are around. That's who their friends are.
The thing is, if the buddy system, which is still not right, is consistent,
it's not right. That is not right either.
Majority of white men, they're gonna pick white men to be in those roles.
They gonna pick their friend that's gonna be in that role. My partner, I went to his house and I know his wife. They gonna pick those people. It don't got nothing to do with being white. That's just who they are around.
So you don't think that corporate America and this glass ceiling has nothing to do with racism?
Listen, not because white people are the majority of America. The white people are majority of America. They what, 60-something%?
Question. You do not think that this glass ceiling has nothing to do with racism?
No, it don't have nothing to do with racism.
Okay, good night. Thank you, Dwayne. I'll talk to you another day. I gotta go to bed. I want you to go to Clubhouse. I want you to go to Clubhouse tomorrow and say the glass ceiling. There's no such thing as wet racism in corporate America. I want you to say that.
I never said that. Now you add
access to these senior level positions. It is not some form of, in some cases, not all the time, but some cases, a level of racism. Because again, it goes back. You said the buddy system. When the buddy system is predominantly white men, and when you're dealing with these country clubs, you said country club, predominantly white men.
Country clubs. They go into the clubs.
Every aspect of what you're saying, you're showing that majority of these environments are driven by white men, so they're going to pick their white counterparts to take their role because one, they've already entrenched attitudes or stereotypes about a type of people that should be in most of these senior roles. It tells you that they're looking for a certain type to be in those roles, and because of the stereotype and the attitude towards most Black people, because it tells you right here, sir. How is it we live in a diverse environment?
Sister, you gotta go to bed. Sister.
Well, no. Black people make up. Black people represent 1.6% of Fortune executives and 5.2% of all chief executives in U.S. companies. Tell me how, but we'll talk about it at another time.
Yeah, you gotta go to bed. I'm tired too.
Bye.
All right.
Ooh, Jesus, y'all, I'm gonna go to bed. But like I said, I thank God for the grace that I've been given. God has blessed me and opened doors. I look at it, my access as being in these certain spaces because of the favor of the Most High God and the grace. Just like Joseph had grace and he had favor and he was able to get to the position he was at, and he was able to see to his brothers when they were going into the famine. God saw that he was going to be a need for his people and brought him into the Egyptian kingdom and made him a governor or a ruler in that kingdom so that he can give access to his brothers and sisters in the time of famine. So God gave him favor, but in that favor, he had to struggle to get to that point. But yet and still, I thank God for the favor. And I'm not sitting here making it seem like God hasn't favored me. By no means. I'm very grateful to God for him putting me in environments and allowing me to meet people and be in networks and come in contact with people for me to have access. But I can't speak to all of my friends and my counterparts being able to have the exact same access that I have. I can't say all of us are doing that. And I'm just going to be honest. So take it however you want to take it. I'm getting ready to go to bed. I hope y'all enjoyed it. I'm back. I'm trying to remain back. Please, Lord, don't let nothing else happen. Let everything be peaceful so I can do more stuff. But all right, y'all. Love y'all. Good night. Ooh, I forgot how to do this. Hold on, y'all. I forgot how to close out. Hold on. And hear me, y'all. I'm going to have to talk to him because he didn't change my whole demographic of my channel. But all right, y'all. Thank y'all.
All different type of information every week. Let me speak. If you subscribe, we're going deep. Love Talk Sister E. God's Work Sister